Hey guys, welcome back to Educator Fresh. So last time we started talking about behavior, and we stopped at the different types of behavior. If you didn't watch the previous video, I'm going to leave a link to that so you can go back and watch it. So we agreed that we are going to first talk about 3 types of behavior, and then we shall talk about the other 3. So we talked about innate behavior, which is behaviors that are inborn, that are natural, that follow the same pattern every time. Things that you are born knowing, like suckling in a baby, like blinking, like egg rolling in birds, and so on and so forth. The learned behavior are behaviors that are acquired through experience, like you learn to write, you learn to speak. Basically, things that you take time in your things that you learn to do. You can learn to do push-ups, for example. You can learn to hide from danger. Those are things that you learn through experience. However, complex behavior includes behaviors that blend both inborn and learned components. Things like a dog salivating to the ring of a bell is a complex behavior because it blends both the innate and the learned components. So let's dive into it and see what are innate behaviors. So we have said that these are inborn behaviors. They are genetically programmed and they are inherited. So a bird inherits the mothering techniques of the mothers that came before it, and it does this because it inherited it from the parents. Spiders, we have a spider here, and you can see how spiders make their webs. They learn to do this. They don't learn to do this. They are born with the inherent ability to do this. They know how to do it by default. A bird rolling eggs back into the nest is something that it does. How do we know it does this? Because it can actually do this to something that looks like an egg. It doesn't really have to be an egg. As long as it has the shape of an egg, a bird will roll it back into the nest. So that is important. Why is this important? Some of these behaviors are important for rapid responses. Animals that don't live very long don't have time to learn new things. So they need to be born with the ability to do things on the go, like rolling in the snail going back into its shell. That is something it has to learn how to do so that it can escape from danger. Because they are rapid responses, they are very efficient at protecting organisms from danger. So it is also important for organisms that don't show parental care, because in parental care, the organism we are going to see begins to learn some behaviors from the parent. However, with organisms that don't have parental care, like some classes of insects, some behaviors are important for the animal to be born able to do without necessarily having to learn them. So there are some categories of innate behavior. We are going to see some of them. We have reflex behaviors. So these are simple automatic responses of the body. So if you've not watched this, we will upload a group of videos on coordination where we shall talk about simple reflexes and conditioned reflexes. But for now, let's talk about innate behaviors that are simple reflexes. Like every time you hit yourself with a table, you withdraw your leg. Every time you step on a pin, you withdraw your leg. If you touch a hot object, you withdraw your leg. That category of behaviors is called a reflex action. Then we have orientation behaviors. These are coordinated movements. Walking, your ability to walk, your ability to swing your hands while walking, flying, swimming. These are organisms that help the organism to orient where it is going. How do birds know that I'm flying in the right direction when there are no roads in the air? That is innate behavior, things that organisms use so that they are able to locate or even avoid stimuli. Then kinesis are types of behaviors that have no direction. Okay, so the rate of movement is directly proportional to the stimuli. How much the organism is going to move is proportional to the stimuli, the intensity of the stimuli that it is facing. Okay, so like if you give woodlice light, they are going to move faster than when it is dark. Okay, butterflies like flying towards light. That type of behaviors, they don't learn it from someone. They are just born with the ability to do it, and they do it the same way every time they do it. That's one thing about innate behaviors. They cannot be modified. Okay, and then we have taxes, directional locomotor responses. Maggots move away from light. Euglena are going to swim towards water with oxygen. They are going to swim away from chemicals. You're going to see different behaviors that you're going to find in animals. But then we also have what we call fixed action patterns, behavior responses that are triggered by specific stimuli, and which once it is initiated, it will continue in the same way until it is finished. We saw in a previous slide a duck rolling an egg. The duck will roll anything that looks like an egg until it reaches the nest, even if it is not the egg. As long as it looks like an egg, the duck has what we call a fixed action pattern. It does that something in the same way, and once it starts, it does it until the end. However, they have to be triggered by a very specific stimuli. Toads do not capture dead insects. As long as the insect is not moving, the toad will not be triggered to capture it. However, once the insect is moving, the toad will shoot out its tongue in the same way every time so that it can capture that insect. So in this case, the stimuli is called the key stimulus, and if the stimulus is from another organism, it is called a releaser. So yawning is a good example in human beings. Once you start yawning, you cannot stop halfway. You can even try it. If you find yourself yawning, you cannot yawn halfway and then say, I'm tired. You have to yawn until you finish. So those are what we call fixed action patterns. We abbreviate them, we call them FAP. I know that word is a bit controversial, but you have to think about it like that. So we have examples. We have examples here. So in the breeding season, we have the stickleback. They are guided by the red-bellied male to the nest that he has prepared, after which he prods the nest. Now, if you paint nail, if you paint red on the abdomen of anything else, these fish will follow this fish every time, because the fixed action pattern suggests that every time they see this, they have to follow this male to the next. So exposing the red breast of the male robin releases the territorial behavior. And every time you see in the birds, because robins are birds, every time they see this red breast here, even every time they see the red breast, it is a sign of dominance. It is a sign of marking territory. For them, they will stay away from that territory because they are seeing that this territory belongs to another robin. So if you happen to put there a red robin, which is a stuffed bird, for example, and then you paint it red, they will respond to it the same way. And those are what we call fixed action patterns. These are behavior responses that happen in the same way. They are triggered by very key stimuli, which, when initiated, happen in the same way until they are accomplished. So think about that. What other, maybe you can comment down in the comments what other FAPs that you know, fixed action patterns that you've heard of, and maybe we can share more about them. Learned behaviors. What are learned behaviors? Learned behaviors are changes in behavior that occur as a result of experience. Things that we have experienced in our lives that keep on changing as a result of different experiences. So when you go to school, when you're just starting out in kindergarten, you're young, you don't know how to write, you don't know the alphabet. But as you go on, there are things that you're going to learn. There are ways you're going to learn to relate with people. Those behaviors that you acquire as a result of experience, of practice, you learn to write because you have done it for a very long time. You learn to use the keyboard on your computer because you have used it for a very long time. Those are what we are calling learned behaviors. What are the advantages of this? They are flexible. And learned behaviors are important to organisms that live long. Us, for example, human beings, we need to learn because you are going to be here for 60, 70 years. You need to learn some behaviors for different environments that you're going to be staying in. They are important for organisms that show parental care because the young animals can then learn from the parents. Animals that don't show parental care prefer to have innate behavior because once the behavior is encoded in your genome, you're born with the ability to do that thing. However, animals that show parental care have time to teach their young ones how to relate, how to fend for themselves, how to walk, and so on and so forth. They benefit organisms that stay together. Animals that stay in packs have the luxury of teaching each other how to relate when you're in a pack. So these type of behaviors benefit organisms that stay in herds, in packs. You're going to find wildebeests, you're going to find wolves. You're going to find that in wolves, you're going to find that there's an alpha pack, there's a beta, and so on and so forth. And there's that hierarchy is taught to animals. They are not born knowing it. However, they learn from watching, from observing, from experience. They learn to behave a certain way depending on the type of pack that they are in. So what are the differences between these two types of behavior, innate and learned behavior? The first one is that innate behavior is heritable. Learned behaviors are not heritable. You cannot just learn, you cannot just inherit talking. That is why if you're born in a family where you never hear a person speak, it will be difficult for you to learn language. Innate behaviors are intrinsic. They are from within out. Animals do them from within out. Like the duck rolling an egg is something that you do from within out. Blinking, yawning, those are things that you do from within out. Learned behaviors, however, are extrinsic. You observe something, you watch how it is done, and then you replay the same thing and you redo the same thing because you have watched someone else do it. Innate behaviors are stereotyped. They happen the same way every time they happen. You will blink the same way, you will yawn the same way, the duck will roll the egg the same way, the toad will capture the insect the same way every time. They are stereotyped, they are inflexible, they cannot be adjusted, they cannot be changed. However, learned behaviors are permutable and they are adaptable. You can change it, you can tweak it around to make it better. For example, we have beta runners, we have people who walk differently, people talk differently, people talk in different languages. They are adaptable. You can adapt them to suit the different conditions that you are in. Innate behaviors are born when they are complete. They are born when you don't need to edit anything about them. They are already complete the way they are. In other words, they are fully developed. Even at the first time they are done, a baby will suckle perfectly the first time they suckle. But however, learned behaviors are progressive. Your handwriting keeps on getting better. Your skills in using a keyboard keep getting better and better and better and better. So you have to give them time. These are learned behaviors. So the difference between these two is that the innate behaviors, you're born when you already know to do something. You are an expert at suckling your mother's breasts. However, learned behaviors are progressive. You have to take time. You have to give yourself time to learn something. Innate behaviors do not require intelligence. For example, reflex actions, some of them are even spinal reflexes. They are not even controlled in the brain. They are automatic. They happen in a given set of response, a given set of pathways. They will always happen the same way. Learned behaviors require intelligence. You have to learn how to do certain things, and this will take some time, and so on and so forth. So another thing that you can talk about innate behaviors is that innate behaviors do not require a lot of time to happen. They are rapid, they are non-evolved. Learned behaviors take time. They take time, first of all, to develop, and sometimes they even take time to accomplish. But you're going to find that innate behaviors, while they are permanent, learned behaviors are more temporary. That is some other thing that you need to think about. Types of learned behaviors. What learned behaviors do we have? We have around 5 of them. We have habituation, we have associative learning, we have exploratory learning, we have insight learning, and we have imprinting. Habituation, associative, latent learning, insight learning, and imprinting. So when we come next time, we are going to talk about the types of learned behavior. Have a good day.